Okay, so good morning. We're going to start. As you know, I hope you had an interesting time, at least some food for thought on the workshop that we had yesterday, that it also allowed you to meet some of your peers, as I said. This is a networking event, so actually our idea with this pilot activity, I insist on the pilot part for anything that can go wrong, is that it gives you an opportunity to meet your peers. So hopefully yesterday was at least useful or somehow, let's say, inspiring at some level. Today we're going to go more into a, let's say, formal format. Nevertheless, we're not moving away from what we are also trying to do, which is providing you some tips, some ideas of what could happen on the next after your current fellowship. And I remind you that we have different profiles here together. We have, of course, doctoral candidates and also postdoctoral researchers at different career stages, and we have very different fields. But we are going to focus on European funding, which may be relevant for many of you, starting with myself, who I will be presenting the postdoctoral fellowships. Then we will talk a little bit about ERC. Then we will talk about the EIC by the European Innovation Council. And if the train works as expected, we will have also the Marie Curie Alumni Association. First, to give you a bit of an overview of what it is, what it can bring to you, because as fellows you are entitled, or you should be members of the Marie Curie Alumni Association. And then specifically, one of the working groups, which was one topic which was raised by several people when registered, which is AI in the proposals. So the Marie Curie Alumni Association has a working group on AI, and fortunately we're going to have a participation which will be online, because the researcher was not available to be here on site in Madrid, and she will be giving a presentation about this part. Then we will go to the panels. Well, we go to a coffee break. We'll tell you a little bit when the coffee break how we are going to organize, because we're going to be using those rooms that we have down there that we used yesterday. We're going to use this auditorium also, and then we're going to use two other rooms in another building, so we have to show you the way. And as you know, the idea in those, as part of the networking spirit of the event, is that many of you have been proactive, as I requested yesterday, and have offered to generously share their research projects. And again, I would like to remind you the different profiles that we have here and the different moments in their careers in which there are. Because there might be presentations which will be like, let's say, a formal conference presentation with project and specific results and so on for those of you who have a project more advanced. But we also invited people who were maybe at the beginning of their own fellowships to share their research plans. And as I also said yesterday, be generous. So help, give ideas, give recommendations, share your thoughts when your peers are presenting. And most important, as I said, have a nice time. So without further ado, I'm going to start with MSCA postdoctoral fellowships. As we discussed yesterday, there is a window of opportunity on postdoctoral fellowships, which we will see later. But definitely for those who are doctoral candidates, I guess it's something that you will be interested in. And those who are in your first postdoctoral positions, maybe it's also something that you are interested about. You are within an MSCA program, so probably many of these things you are already aware of, but I would still mention them because it's important in order to have it in mind when preparing a proposal. Because the idea was also to provide some tips about how to face an MSCA PF proposal. As a program, Marie Curie obviously is based on excellent science. But you should never forget that there's also a very strong focus on what is the professional development of the researchers. So let's say the training component of the action. And in that sense, when you are putting together a proposal, an MSCA, and MSCA PF is now different in any way, of course, you are going to be looking to do an RDI impact, so basically your excellent science producing excellent scientific results. But it's also proposals which have to convince that there is an impact, especially in the researcher and the fellow who's benefiting from the action, and in the institution in which this action is taking place. You know that it's completely open to all fields, so any kind of discipline can present a PF proposal, although you have to stick them into these 8 boxes, which are the 8 panels that we are also using for our own networking event today. MSCA has different parts. Basically, just to tell you that it's a it's a program which is rather periodic. There are some of the calls which may move along the year, like COFUND and staff exchanges, but definitely postdoctoral fellowships are very stable in time, or have been traditionally very stable in time. So the call that is happening on 2026 will be opening, you can see there, on the 9th of April. We'll have a closing deadline on the 9th of September, and especially the deadlines are very important for a number of things that I have to, that I will be sharing with you, that you need to keep in mind in order to see if you are eligible for this program. In 2027, we already have the plan of what's going to happen, and as I said, in the case of PF, things remain more or less the same. So we're aiming at opening the call on the 7th of April of 2027 and having the call closing on the 8th of September of 2027. So that's the plan. Some things to keep in mind when you start putting together an idea of a project. Maybe you go and contact an NCP, which is a key recommendation that I'll give you at the end, and you start talking, and we all start using all these funny words that you don't know exactly what they mean. Well, we have beneficiaries on one side, we have associated partners on the other side when you put together a proposal. The beneficiaries are basically the European institutions which are going to be receiving the funding. They are the beneficiaries of the funding, and who are the ones who will use the funding to hire you and to pay for the expenses of your project. And then we have the associated partners, which somehow complement the implementation of the project. They can be located anywhere in the world, and normally these, in the case of MSCA PF, basically these are institutions which you include in your proposals in order to have secondments during the implementation of the project, or placements, which take place at the very end of the project, but I will go back to that in a minute. And then the other thing to have very clear in mind is that when I'm speaking about these beneficiaries and I'm speaking about these associated partners, we're talking about academic institutions and non-academic institutions. Yesterday, remember that we also discussed about when we talked about academia, what we thought about. This time it might be a little bit different, because the definition of academic organizations are, of course, public performing organizations, are universities, public and private, and they are also private organizations with non-profit. And on the side of the non-academic organizations, the key message is that, of course, we have industry, which is the main idea that we can have a company, but to keep in mind that when we talk about non-academic organizations, we're talking about many other things. So we're talking also about public administrations, we're talking also about NGOs, we're talking about institutions like hospitals or museums, although here we have to be a little bit careful, because some hospitals and some museums are actually in the first box because they are research organizations. But key message, as I said, if you think about how to put in the non-academic sector in your proposal, remember that it's much more than industry. Here you have the timelines, 9th of April and 9th of September, which is important, the deadline. This means that the results from this call would be published sometime around February. The ones of 2025 were published just less than a month ago. And that would mean that the first projects funded in the 2026 call would start around May 2027, and normally you would have flexibility to actually start the action up until 1 year later, which is September 2028. Because if you are in the middle of a contract when you get the funding, you are allowed to finalize your contract before jumping into the PF. Have a similar budget to last year, and we'll see the figures later at the end of the presentation. The project itself, or the program, the MSCA PF call. I already provided a bit of a hint when speaking about MSCA in general, but basically what you have to look for when you put together an MSCA proposal, as I said, on top of everything, excellent science. So you have to have an excellent research project beyond the state of the art, with very clear objectives of what you want to achieve, and very clear goals expected and impact. But it's equally important, and you cannot forget about how the project implementation is going to enhance the potential of the postdoctoral researcher implementing the project. So for the impact in the professional development of the fellow. It's also an essence to all of MSCA. Somehow you are expected to address the 3 I's that we call. It's going to be an international action by definition, by a number of things, and because you have these secondments and you have these placements, and because you have to meet the mobility rule. But you also have to look into having interdisciplinary content and intersectoral content in a strong proposal. And as I said, very well planned and established the professional development activities within the project, a part of the research itself, which the research, by the way, it's also an element which contributes to the professional development of the researcher. We have 2 types. We have European fellowships and we have global fellowships. In the case of the European fellowships, it's basically, as its name it's indicated, the beneficiary is a European institution and the entire action takes place in the premises of this beneficiary institution in Europe. When we talk about Europe, it's the European Union member states and associated countries to Horizon Europe program. It can have a duration of between 12, minimum 12, maximum 24 months, the European fellowship. And you have the possibility of adding one thing that I mentioned a minute ago, which are the non-academic placements beyond the duration of the project. These, as its name indicates, need to take place within a non-academic organization. They're voluntary, it's not mandatory. A proposal is not better or worse if it has a placement or not. The important thing is that if there's a placement, it has to make sense. And as I said, this placement can take a duration of maximum 6 months. Then on the other hand, we have the global fellowships, which follow a similar structure, but it has an outgoing phase which takes place in a third country, outside a EU member state, outside an associated country. This outgoing phase takes place during between 12 and 24 months, and then you have a mandatory return phase to your European host. So altogether, you can go up to 36-month implementation of the project, plus those potential 6 months of non-academic placement, which need to take place in a European country. And it works in the same way as the European fellowship. During the entire 12 to 24 months of the European fellowship, or the 12 to 24 months of the outgoing phase of the global fellowships, you are allowed to design secondments, basically to go anywhere in the world to any kind of institution, any sector, for the implementation of your project, with a maximum duration altogether of the secondments of 1/3 of the total amount of time. Meaning basically in 24 months, it's 8 months maximum of secondment during a normal project. And in the case of the of the global fellowship, these can only take place during the outgoing phase, never during the return phase. And one important thing that has changed, and that's why I have it there on red, is that there's always been, or since the beginning of Horizon Europe, there has been a restriction to resubmissions, meaning proposals which were presented last year and they were not funded, if they have restrictions for participating in this year's call. Well, if it's a resubmission, meaning same researcher, same host institution, same supervisor, if you didn't get a score higher than 80%, you cannot present the exact same project to this call. You would have to look for another. I mean, you can go as a candidate, but in a different project. You can go for a global fellowship, you can change your host institution, or whatever. So as a researcher, you can participate, but not with the same project. And I highlighted in red because if you're familiarized with the call, you realize that this year, this threshold has been increased. So until last year, the resubmission limit was 70%. This year is 80% because of the crazy numbers of proposals that the call receives. MSCA postdoctoral fellowships, just for your knowledge, are connected with other parts of the program and with other programs. Another part of the programs are the ERA fellowships, which basically it's additional funding from another part of Horizon Europe. And what it means from the side of MSCA PF proposal is that if your host institution is in a widening country, and you can Google which are the widening countries, you sort of have like a second chance to get funding. So if you are on the reserve list and your host organization is in a widening country, it could happen that your MSCA PF does not get funded, but you're there on the limit and you get the funding from the ERA fellowship program. It wouldn't be an MSCA fellowship, but still it would meet exactly the same conditions. What does this mean from the side of you as preparing the proposal? Obviously, the country of the host institution, but also just ticking a box. in the preparation of the proposal. You do not need to do anything else. And then on the other hand, we have a connection with the Euratom program, which basically means this is another funding program different from Horizon Europe. And basically, if the kind of research proposal you are doing meets with the training, the research and training activities of the Euratom project, which you can see in the more information in the guide for applicants when it's ready, you basically can mark a box. And this what means, again, from your side as a candidate, it doesn't change anything. So you get your funding, you get a very good evaluation, you get the funding. And what it means is that maybe your grant is going to be paid by Euratom instead of directly by the bag of money of Marie Curie. In this case, it is an MSCA fellowship. Nothing changes for you, but it's good for the program because that means that the space that you leave might be available for another fellowship. So, summarizing a little bit. As I said, beneficiaries are organizations in Europe from either academic sector and non-academic sector. Researchers who participate. Obviously, you as fellows, so fellow candidates to become fellows, but also the supervisor. And it's very important, this tandem, to prepare the proposals. And then we have the associated partners, the organizations which are outside of Europe, which, as I said, well, can be outside of Europe, which would be for the outgoing phase of the global fellowship. And in the case you go for a non-academic placement, it would be the non-academic organizations that you put in your proposal as a non-academic placement. Important requirement, if you go for a global fellowship, you will need a letter of commitment from the institution of the third country. And from the side of the researcher, of the fellow, of course, you need to meet a certain criteria. The first one is you have to be a postdoctoral researcher, obvious. You have to have a PhD degree. Initially, in terms of nationality, there are no restrictions, and this is completely true in the case of European fellowships, although in the case of global fellowships, these are only open for EU member states and associated country nationals, but also for third country nationals, which are long-term residents in Europe, which means having lived in a European country for 6 years or more. And then there is a limit of experience. Remember the windows of opportunity that Elisa was mentioning yesterday? It also applies in the case of MSCA. And you have a maximum, you can have a maximum time of postdoctoral experience of 8 years in order to be eligible to apply for a postdoctoral fellowships. This means, obviously, that your PhD degree should be at the date of the call deadline, as of the 9th of September of 2026 this year. You shouldn't have more than 8 years of postdoctoral experience. And I say postdoctoral experience because there are a number of things which you, if your PhD degree is previous to that, you can sort of discount time, and I will go back to that. And the last thing is something that you are familiarized with because you had to meet it in your COFUND programs, the mobility rule. You're eligible only in countries in which you have not spent more than 12 months of the last 36 months, either studying, working, or leaving. So basically the same as in COFUND. And as I said, everything needs to be met at the time of the call deadline. It has to be measured at the time of the call deadline. As I said, postdoctoral experience, how is this measured? Well, it's actually what it takes into account is actual postdoctoral research activity, meaning that if your PhD degree is you obtained it more than 8 years ago, but you have been doing some other things in the middle, maybe because you had a career break, because of a maternal leave, paternal leave, or whatever, or maybe because you have been working in some other area, working in a company for some time, doing some other thing which is not postdoctoral research. These are amounts of time that you can discount in order to ensure that you are eligible. Important message here, you need documentation to actually prove that you are entitled to discount those times. Every year there is a document with the guidelines, with details about this, and also about the self-assessment tool, so you can make the calculations. If you meet the criteria, right now in my presentations I have the links of last year because the new documents have not been updated to the new year, which is just a matter of time. And I'll give you 2 examples. And as we started late, I'm running late. So European fellowship, as I said, researcher from Mexico. PhD degree in October 2018 on a postdoctoral position during the first year of this person's postdoc in the same institution where the person wants to apply for the postdoctoral fellowships. Went back to Mexico, and in the last 3 years, basically, this person has been working, living and working as a postdoctoral researcher all the time in Italy. So as I said, basically what you need to check here is, first of all, the nationality. It's a European fellowship, so really don't care, because everybody is eligible in this particular case. What about the experience? If we look at October 2018, and we count 8 years back, because you see in the history that this person has been lucky enough to be working as a postdoctoral researcher since the obtention of the PhD degree. 8 years back, it means 2026. So it's in the limit. And here, basically, in this example, the idea is that the days count. Because this person, as of the 9th of September of 2026, will have had 7 years and 11 months, approximately, of postdoctoral experience. So that person would be eligible. If instead of October it would be August, then we would have to look if there are any possibilities of discounting. In the case of a global fellowship, well, this is a similar way. Third country nationality from Canada, PhD degree in August 2018. From what I told you, you already see a red flag there. But this researcher had a son in 2018. And as I mentioned in the exceptions that you could discount from the research experience, this automatically means 1 in 18 months less that you would take away, which means that in the side of the research experience, wouldn't have a problem. In the case of nationality, we put there that this person was working for 6 years in Portugal, which means that she meets the long-term residence criteria applied by the program. And that would be it. What about the funding? This works on researcher unit costs. And basically, you can look at it in the work program to see the details, because maybe from the distance that table is not so easy to see. But you can see that on the left, you have what we call the contributions for the recruited researcher, where the biggest part of the grant is included in living allowance, and then we have mobility allowance. These are applicable to every single candidate. And then we have a family allowance, which is applicable for candidates who have family responsibilities, meaning they are married or in a comparable situation, legal in the country where this pairing took place, or he or she has sons. And then on the other side, we have the institutional contributions, which on one side is actually also for the researchers, the research training and networking activity. And these amounts, by the way, it's per person month. So the research training and networking is basically the bag of money that the fellow and the supervisor have available for implementing the actions foreseen in the program. Meaning, for example, the secondments, meaning any kind of cost of publication fees, maybe using some equipment, maybe doing some field work for covering many different kinds of costs, except recruiting additional staff. And then there is a last part for the institution, which is management of the indirect management and indirect contributions. You also see there that there are 2 more columns in the contributions for recruited researchers, which only apply in case there is need for it. We have a long-term leave allowance, which applies if the researcher, for whatever reasons, needs to go on a long-term leave, for example, for a maternal leave, then this part of the funding activates. It's become available for the institution, so the researcher during the long-term leave will continue, obviously, having their salary and so on, and going through whatever are the legal situations of applying for this in the country where they are for this long-term leave. And then when they come back, the action restarts again and continues working as normally, and the project gets extended as much as the long-term leave has of duration. And the last part is the special needs allowance. If any researcher has kind of a disability, and in order, for example, to implement a secondment, this person needs some additional special equipment, this can also be requested and activated and get additional funding in order to meet these additional needs. And what about the proposals themselves? Well, we have part A, which we call the administrative part. It's where you put all the information of your background as researcher, where you are, your host institution, if there are any associated partners, let's say all the administrative information. And then the important part, where you're going to be working in a proposal, which is the technical part, part B, and it has 2 subparts, B1 and B2. B1 is the important one. It's the important one. It's where you will be working 90% of the time. You have 3 sections: excellence, impact, and implementation. We'll see very swiftly what it includes, and a very strict page limit. Quite a number of topics and subtopics that you need to address, that you need to explain as best as possible to convince that your project should be funded, and a maximum extension of 10 pages to meet it. And then page B2 basically complements the information of B1. And initially there is no page limit, and it's here where you put your CV as a fellow, where you put the information about the institutions that are going to be participating, your beneficiary and associated partners if you have them, any ethical aspects that may apply in the case of your research, security screening, environmental considerations, and the letter of commitment in the case of global fellowships. And the way that the proposals are evaluated is based on excellence, impact, and implementation. Excellence weighting more than impact, and impact weighting more than implementation, and also having different importance, meaning that at the same score, that proposal which has a higher score in excellence will be above the one with a lower score in excellence. If they have the same score in excellence also, the one with higher score in impact will be on top of the other one, and so on. And although these are the evaluation criteria, do not forget that it's not only part B1, which they will be evaluating, it will be the entire package. So as I said, part B2 complements B1, and it has to make sense. So you are going to have a part in the part B1, which is what you see here, for example, where you are going to be talking in the last section of excellence about your professional skills or why you are the right person to implement that project. And this has to speak with the CV that you are going to be presenting in part B2. If something doesn't connect there, you might be losing some important scores there. So basically, in excellence, research and innovation objectives, methodology, the supervision and the exchange of knowledge, because remember, this has to have an impact in the institution also, on the fellow and on the institution where the project is taking place. And as I said, your own experience in order to implement the project. In the side of impact, we have obviously, let's say, the impact of the research outputs on a short term, also connected with communication, dissemination, and exploitation activities, as well as on a mid-term, long-term, the scientific, societal, and economic impact. But also the impact in the fellow, the implementation of this project, on their future career perspectives in any kind of sector, academic sector and non-academic sector, depending on how you put the project. So how the implementation of the project enhances the employability, the skills, the capacities, competences that we discussed yesterday through the implementation of the project. And then implementation, which is basically a nice work plan of whatever you said that you're going to do. Some key messages. We talk about these calls, and actually they were called like that in Horizon 2020, of individual fellowships. But they are not individual, or they shouldn't be individual. Obviously, you as fellows, or candidate to become fellows, you are the ones who are going to be, let's say, pulling from this initiative. You're going to be the ones working the most in the preparation of the proposals. But ideally, in order to put together that nice puzzle, which should be you with your expertise, your supervisor with contributing complementary expertise, the setting of a nice institution in order to set up a wonderful, attractive, and excellent research project, which is going to be very good for you to become like a super researcher, putting it in somewhat silly words. So it should be a collective effort. And also there are a number of practical issues that, apart from the supervisor, it would be nice to also speak with the institutions. And here I also remind you about things that we spoke about yesterday in the last part of the sessions. I mean, you have to have, ideally you should be very active in the way that you choose your future institution. And the way that you, taking into consideration all of the many things that Elisa was saying yesterday, also apart from on the short term and talking about the proposal, about the research proposal that you have in the PF. And apart from the research, which should be excellent, as I said, repeating some of the messages, think in terms of opportunities to gain new knowledge. That's what you have to sell in your proposal. This project is going to allow me to learn all of these things, access all of this knowledge, access all of this expertise in order for me to develop, learning new skills, strengthening your networks, also strengthening through your project and your collaborations, the networks of your own institution, of your host institution, and again, without forgetting about the direct impact of the research output, communication and dissemination, mobility and knowledge transfer. And some general tips. And I think I'm going to start there. I'm going to stop there. Practical tips, Involve your future host in the preparation of your proposal. Give it a thought about where you're going, plan it in advance. Talk to the national contact points of the countries of destination. It's not that we wouldn't want to help a fellow going to Estonia, for example, but probably we cannot help him as much as our colleague, the MSCA NCPA in Estonia. Start early. Try to get people to read it and to provide you feedback. I mean, it's 10 pages, as I said, where you have to put a lot of information. Obviously, even people who are not like really experts in the field, because maybe they will not grasp the exact details of the state of the art and of the methodology or whatever, but it has to be understandable, it has to be readable. So it's important that you give it to read for everybody. About the evaluation, I said that there are different scores, but it doesn't matter because the competitiveness of this call is extremely high. So basically you have to go for 100% in every one of the sections. If you have perfect excellence, if you have perfect impact, but a weak implementation, you might get a good score, but you're not going to get the funding, putting it very bluntly. Try to use, you have very little space, you are requested to put a lot of information. Try to make the evaluator's life easy. Try to use figures. Try to keep a good structure, to tell a good story. I've heard some of the fellows who have gotten the funding to emphasize that you have to really practice storytelling when you put together these PF proposals. And that storytelling is about the research, again, it's about the training, and it's also about a good planning of what you are going to be doing. And one key question that we often get, because it's 8 years of window of postdoctoral experience, which is certainly, I mean, many things can happen in 8 years, and people are concerned about what is my CV? Is my CV good enough to participate in PF? Well, the thing is, again, is that this is, you have to put together the right puzzle. So it has to be your experience, more or less, with your supervisor's experience, which complements yours in order to meet realistically the objectives that you set up and the institutions that you have. So it's putting all the pieces together. You might have less experience, but if you put together the right puzzle, you might perfectly well get the funding above a researcher with much more experience. And I'm just going to show you this in case you want to ask us, because I also have my colleagues here, Jesus, Laura, and Julio. We will be available during the day if anybody has any questions about MSCA. You have us in the email. And with that, I give the floor to ERC.
Muchas gracias. Vale. Sí. No question about Marie Curie. It's okay if I said Marie Curie instead of Maria Skłodowska-Curie Actions Fellows or Researcher? Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Leticia Riaza. I'm national contact point in Spain from the ERC, the European Research Council. Today I'll show you why ERC can be a natural next step for Marie Curie research, because it's the same excellence, but with different focus. I have only 30 minutes, so I would like to give you a few words, a few information about ERC. If ERC is less complex as Marie Curie calls, but it's more complex that I'm going to share with you today. But I prefer to leave half part of my time trying to convince you to apply, because in practice you are all a very good researcher with a very good ideas. So what I'm going to share, as I say, is just a few words about the program. The ERC sits in Pillar 1 of Horizon Europe and funds frontier research-driven research across all fields. It's open worldwide and super individual PIs to pursue bold ideas. I'm going to repeat bold ideas, all the time, but we can change transformative ideas, ambitious ideas about research. Think of ERC as a long-term, bottom-up grant with no thematic priorities. This is very important. You decide what you want to research, and there are not fancy research topics. There is a single evaluation criterion, and this is another thing that I'm going to repeat many times, is scientific excellence is the only criteria of evaluation, but applied for both the research and the project and you and the PI, but not in terms of you are a pop in your field. It's in terms of you are I don't know, you have a solid career, or you are able to implement the project. It's just in these concrete aspects. Well, these are the grant schemes. There are 5 main grant types: starting, consolidator, advanced, synergy, and proof of concept, and also ERC Plus. This is a new one, which started truly transformative vision. Well, what I'm going to say? Starting, consolidator, and advanced run up to 5 years, and PI must spend at least 50% of their working time in a EU member state or associated country. ERC also allow additional funding for your proposal, up to 1 million for justified needs such as major equipment. Just are examples: major equipment, field work, for example, major experimental. So the money is no problem for the ERC, as you can see. And also something very important for you, because I'm assuming that you will be in the window. You are able to apply to starting or consolidator. So there is a huge change since the next call in 2027. The eligibility window change for this time are going to from 0 to 10 years after PhD and 5 to 15 years after the PhD. It's a wider eligibility window for starting a consolidator, but as you see, yes, there is an overlapping between these two calls, 5 years, and many, ESC assume that many researchers have to decide in which call apply, because maybe your decision is based on the maturity of the idea, your track record, where are you more competitive. Different strategies for applying is coming, so it's going to be exciting for national contact points. Calls follow a predictable annual calendar and annual reading. You can use this stability to plan your personal pathway to starting or consolidator, especially if you are finishing your Marie Curie fellowship or research or program. So mostly the dates for the deadline is always in the same month, a few different. And for starting a consolidator, the reference is the date of the successful defense of the PhD. You can see different cases in which this date doesn't appear in your certificate. In these cases, usually confirmation letters should work perfectly for the ESC. They believe you, but they need this date. Also, you can request an extension of the eligibility window, extension apply for parental leave, long-term illness, disability, clinical training, major disaster, wars, these kind of things. But this is an exhaustive list. So if you, maybe your career suffered some delayed for COVID, it's no law to request an extension of the eligibility window. But if you are within these cases, ASC is very flexible and understand you and trust on the documents that you share with them. As I said before, and I'm going to repeat many, many times, excellence is the sole evaluation criterion, excellence of the project, of the research project, and excellence of the principal investigator. Panel looks for a field-changing idea and a solid methodology and a solid how to implement, a solid implementation of the research, plus the intellectual capacity and something that I think is unique in programs, in research programs, that is creativity to lead this project. There's no separate scoring for impact and implementation. This is a change view coming from Marie Curie. And those elements are considered, of course, but through the lens of excellence. There are 28 panels across physical science and engineering, life science, and social science and humanities. You need to select a primary panel if helpful, a secondary one. But you have a huge list of keywords that you can use to tag your research. Keywords guide allocation, but don't rigidly constrain the review. Choose where your idea gets the best read. This is an advice. About the evaluation process, you can see different steps, but mainly, to summarize, step one just only part one plus and your CV and track record. And if you go beyond the step one, to add external reviewer in order to understand perfectly your research idea. The full proposal, they review the full proposal and the interview for individual schemes. I'm going to tell you more about the templates, but it's easier. It's easy to understand. And now, the second part of my presentation, switching from Marie Skłodowska-Curie action to ERC mindset. Well, Marie Curie gives you a structure, training, mobility, supervision, and I think the most important thing is interdisciplinary exposure, even intersectoral exposure. This is great for the ERC. I'll talk more about that. ERC shift the focus to your independent scientific vision. So they want to hear your voice about a research problem. It's not a jump into the void. It's a natural progression from developing a skill, that is the state that you are developing your skill, to proposing your own, again, bold research. And honestly, I think Marie Curie experience is often makes fellows very, very well prepared for the ERC. So this is the reason I'm not going to go more into deep about the ERC, more into encourage you for applying. ERC, as I start my presentation, is different focus but same excellence. ERC and Marie Curie share a commitment to excellence, but the focus is different. Marie Curie emphasized structured training, mobility, and career development, which is good because it builds a strong professional base. But ERC is a research-driven, originality, independence, and ambitious scientific questions. So your Marie Curie background actually strengthens your ERC case because it already shows mobility, versatility, adaptability, no? You have a different resource of knowledge. About the evaluation framework in ERC, the single criterion what is scientific excellence applied to both project and the PI. And as I said, a panel look for a field-changing idea and clear signs of independence. Marie Curie evaluates as excellent impact and implementation, which makes sense because it's a training-focused program. And from my experience, a common challenge for Marie Curie alumni is over-describing managing or over-describing transfer of knowledge program in ERC proposal. And ERC requires shift towards the scientific breakthrough. And of course, your intellectual ownership. I don't know if you see it different between both. And about the template, I think you perfectly know, and Xavi explained before me, how looks a template for Marie Curie. It's very well structured. You know exactly what they expect, what the evaluator expects from you, what information is necessary in any part of the proposal. But in ERC templates, you will have a part 1 is up to 5 pages for convince panel members that your idea is great, is necessary, and is going to impact your research field in 5 pages. And of course, you have a CV and track record, 4 pages too. And the part 2 is up to 7 pages, and the aim is to convince the panel that you know how you are going to implement this great idea, how you're going to achieve the objective that you talk about in the first part. Okay, so for Marie Curie Fellows or alumni, ERC short format can be freeing and frightening because it's a white paper. You don't have any hidden, sub-hidden, sub-hidden, an explanation of what they expect from each section. But I think you can focus on just in scientific identity you want to build with this project. ERC is a PI center. Panels care deeply about your originality, independence, and leadership potential. And Marie Curie is a program centered, which is perfect for growth. But ERC assumes you're ready to take the lead. Is in both cases, in a starting grant and consolidated grant. So highlight decisions that reflect your own scientific direction, unique ideas, you initiate concept-driven work or small supervision roles that show leadership. As I said, panel looks for creativity and capacity, not for host institution structures. So it's dependent on you only. What about risk and impact? Is also different. There are differences between both programs because ERC welcome ambitious, high-risk ideas as long as the reasoning is solid and the plan is credible. And Marie Curie emphasizes training outcomes and strong project management in both programs, but both programs value excellence. The difference is that ERC defines impact in advancing scientific understanding. No impact in society or in the environment, or maybe you are going to, the result of your project are going to change the life of patients of some disease. But this is good for the ERC, but this is not the impact that they are looking for. They are looking for transformative impact in your research field. The other one is okay, it is very good for Marie Curie, but it's not enough for the ERC. I'm finishing. So, honestly, coming from Marie Curie is a great advantage. I want to tell you something. How the ERC grantee looks like. Looks like similar than Marie Curie profiles because They are people who see a problem, a bottleneck or something, a knowledge gap in their field. They aware that the scientific community trying to solve this problem, but they think that this is not the way. And this because sometimes, or the most of the time, these people coming from different disciplinary and even different sector. Maybe they had secondments, did secondments in different sector, in academia, non-academia, different disciplines. So when they see the problem, they see a different point of view to resolve this problem. This is the kind of people that get the grant for the ESC. And really, this profile sounds like a Marie Curie alumni, not. No, it's exactly what they are looking for in Marie Curie programs. So honestly, I think it's a great advantage. Your mobility gives you a broader scientific perspective. Your interdisciplinary, as I said, experience helps you to formulate bold cross-field ideas. Your training and supervision exposure builds your foundation of independence. And the structured thinking you develop makes your ESC narrative clearer and more coherent. And all those elements strengthen your identity as a future ESC grantee. I finished with ESC. I'm going to give you some resources. There are the main resources I recommend using. I hope they'll help you to understand the program better. The first one, the ESC website and the YouTube ESC classes playlists are extremely helpful. Use them to understand how panel is composed, how proposals evolve, and what successfully ESC grantees emphasize. Then the Spanish website for Horizon Europe is in Spanish, so my slide is in Spanish too. As NCPs, we support you across the whole life cycle, mock interview, portability support session, proposal development, ESC proposal reading days, and anything else. And be here is part of our support to the community. So everything, any service that we do is collected on enlaces de interés. This is a link. It's on horizonteeuropa.es. And of course, if you subscribe to our newsletter, you are going to be staying updated. And this is a Spanish representation and NCP teams. Nothing else from my side. If you're thinking about an ERC application, please get in touch with at esc@fecit.es. We are happy to discuss your idea or help you. Thank you very much. And remember, if you come from Marie Curie, you already have many of the ingredients for the ESC. Thank you very much. ¿Y qué hay ahora? ¿Café? Doubts. Hay una pregunta. Qué horror. Qué malo hago.
Okay, question?
Thanks for the presentation. My question was about the nationalities of the applicant for ERC. Does it matter? Is it like open to all applicants, or is it a specific?
It's open to all applicants. The only requirement is that you need to apply with a host institution from UAE member state or associated country. But yes, refugees welcome. Refugees in terms of people from the United States, for example, there are coming a lot of them to Spain, and it doesn't matter your nationality.
At the time that you receive your PhD degree, is there a deadline, or since you received your PhD degree, like
No, it's not a deadline. You can apply forever, even if you are going to retire. It's very usual. So since you get your PhD,
Okay.
till your death.
Okay, thank you.
Another question?
Thank you very much. I was wondering if you could tell us a bit more about the interview part, because there's a lot more information about how to submit a proposal. You can see some of the proposal, but not so much about the interview stage.
Well, I don't know what exactly do you want to know about the interview. During the interview, it is about 30 minutes. It's on remotely. You are in your house or in your office, and connect with Brussels. The full panel are there. Panel cover, are thematic, but cover very different keywords. So maybe you are, I don't know, your research topic is about geography, and there are historians in the same panel. You share your presentation. Usually you share your project. You will have till 3 to 15 minutes, depending on the panel, and receive questions. And the panel members have on the table the reviewers, the reviews from the external reviewers. But these people that are very close to your research topics, that actually understand any task that you are going to do within your project, they are not here. They are not there to listen your answer. And they ask you other questions, and at the end of the session, they are, for any panel, they have up to 44 interviews along a week, and at the end of the week, they have to decide. There are discussion on this kind of thing, and they have to decide who get the grant and who doesn't get. Okay, and I don't know what do you want about the interview. But if you, a very important thing is you apply and you go to step 2, contact us, because we do a mock interview and there are a lot of information more.
That was my follow-up question. Thank you.
Yes, we have a mock interview service. Famous. Yes, presentation is ready.
You can take the question. One more question? Yeah. So thank you very much for your presentation. It was really nice to see. I was wondering, how much in advance do you have to write this kind of presentation? Like you have to start to think about it like 1 month before, 1 year before?
It's the band. You need to put, it's the band. Sometimes researcher, grantees, talk about, I have ideas, like puzzle pieces. It's like, I think to do that and the other thing. And it's like, okay, I have a click on my head, something triggers you to do this idea. It's the pen, how you translate these puzzle pieces of puzzle, these parts of the idea, into the project. Sometimes there are people who, I don't know, spend 1 month full time, and there are people who, the most of them, 1 year preparing. Because when you start writing, everything has to be perfect. So it's difficult. You need time, as always. And a lot of money. You need time to prepare a good proposal.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so just as a reminder, you will stay with us for the coffee. So you have Leticia, you have Julio, where I went really quickly, but he's also ERC and CP. So anything of ERC, we know it's the popular thing, it's there. I remind you, Jesus, Laura and myself for MSCA, Julio also. And with that, EIC, Marta Marin. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Just to make sure that you are all awake, have any of you ever thought of giving up, or not giving up, but transforming your path to the more business entrepreneurship? Can you raise your hands? I'm not going to ask you any follow-up question. Okay, And have any of you heard about the European Innovation Council? Yes? Okay, someone nodding. So I'm going to not focus much on the different parts of the proposal, but just give you a hint about what the European Innovation Council is. I'm going to talk about two of the main instruments that you might be involved, Pathfinder and Transition, and then explain you about one instrument that you can already take part with. Hopefully, by the end of my presentation, similar to what Leticia did, I will show you how the European Innovation Council considers you as key actors for this next step of for bringing these ideas, this technology, to the market. So first, giving you a bit of introduction about the European Innovation Council. So this was a program established under the European Horizon Europe program, so it's quite new. The idea for that, and it was developed similar to the European Research Council, as you see by the name. The idea is to identify, develop, and scale up breakthrough technologies and companies. So before that, the Pathfinder, which is the initial program, was placed in the excellent part, and it was called Future Emerging Technologies, in case some of you were familiar with that. But now all the package of different calls have moved to the third pillar, the Innovative Europe. So the idea is to really bring these ideas to the market. And some of the things might be similar to what Leticia was explaining and what Xavi was explaining. But here the focus, and this is much more than a research project, but it's really an innovative project. How do we bring the technologies to the market? And we need to think during our project in the two different parts: the development of the technology and the development of the business. And one thing that I realized that I haven't remarked enough is that most of these calls or the different programs I'm going to be talking are collaborative. So it's expecting different institutions collaborating to bring these technologies to the market. So the aim and why the EIC was created is to support these game-changing innovations through the life cycle. So this is the whole different schemes of funding that you can get. So starting from EIC Pathfinder to develop the science behind these new technologies, then moving to a transition, which is to prove the technology and start transferring the technology. And then we have the financing and scaling up of the startups. And then because similar to you can see for the Pathfinder, which is a more initial program, you see that different kinds of technologies or ideas are proposed, but, or in the other graph, you can see how these evolve, taking these first ideas to then the market. And then what I was explaining before, so we are seeking to develop the technology, but also the more business development in parallel in the different calls that we have. I'm not sure if you are familiar with the TRLs, technological readiness level. So I have another slide later on, but bear in mind that having a TRL4 is like a proof of concept, how technology validated in the lab. So if you are more on the health or biosectors or about the in vitro experiments, then TRL 5, 6 would be the preclinical validation, and then TRL 6, it's like a clinical trial phase 1. But you need to move the projects in parallel. And then because the EIC is aware that if you are starting your transition from the lab to taking this technology to the market, it's not only about the technology, but you need to get support in the business part, because normally researchers, we are not that familiar with that, how to develop a business program, how to achieve funding, how to pitch our innovation in front of venture capitals. So we are not that familiar with that, and the EIC, being aware of that, is going to help you in the different parts. So we have the Tech to Market program, we have different coaching, trainings, and we have program managers, which are scientists, with a scientific background that it's going to help these different projects to allow or to contact with companies, because we are always talking about these breakthrough ideas, breakthrough technology. There's a lot to do with regulation, with the standardization. So all of this is also provided in collaboration with the program managers of the EIC. Then focusing on the first call, which is the EIC Pathfinder. Here, what we are going to fund is the research, develop the scientific basis to underpin breakthrough technologies. We are talking about interdisciplinary research, research in collaboration, so different groups bringing their expertise in different fields. We are, it's early stages of research and development, so up to TRL4, proof of concept validated in lab. And then the aim is to build a new cutting-edge direction in science and technology to disrupt the field or create a market. So our technology, comparing to what we have out there, it's better. Normally we tend to like an order of magnitude better than what we have in the market, or maybe we are creating a new market, a need that hasn't already been solved because there's a lot of technological bottlenecks. So we are aiming for creating this new market that has already been created. And then we are talking also about disruptive innovation. So comparing to the state of the art, to what we currently know, what are the different bottlenecks that we have, and then how our project is going to go beyond the state of the art. So in terms of funding mechanisms, we have the open, as I said, and then we have the Pathfinder challenges. In this case, it's more like a topic-based, so we will have this topic in which the European Innovation Council has found a gap, and when some innovation is needed. So they are going to propose us some of the topics. But there's always going to be this open mechanism where any kind of technology can be proposed. So which is the formula for this? So what the different things we need to take into account is the interdisciplinary concept, disruptive technology, high risk, high gain, and then the long-term vision. So we are aiming, as I already said a few times, for this collaborative and interdisciplinary research, very much in line with what you are doing now. We are looking for deep tech, so comparing to the ERC that was presented before, this is about developing new technology, and new technology that can arrive to the market. So it's not so much about blue sky, about generating new knowledge, but the knowledge needs to be applied in something technologically to bring to the market. So we are talking about new devices, we are talking about new ways in which plants can interact to each other digitally. We are talking about new therapies based on physics plus biological elements. Then we also have the high risk, high gain, because we are finding the first or the early stage of research, so there's a lot of things can go wrong, but we need to have proper methodology, specific objectives, and the ideal is that you already have like some small hints that what you are proposing is not out of nothing, but you have some evidence that it might work. And then the long-term vision, it's really important to set what is your technology going to solve? How is it going to transform the society? What's the impact that it's going to have? So are we aiming for technology to speed communications? Are we aiming for, as I said, like a new therapy that it's going to improve, I don't know, like X years, the life of the patients? What is expected from us? So we need to develop this proof of concept in the lab. I didn't tell you, but if you have any question, I don't mind that you interrupted me, so raise your hand and I can solve you during my presentation. Then regarding TRLs, that's something that, especially if you are coming more from the health sector, it's something that we are not that familiar with. And here you have a few examples of TRL for what is this meaning. And then, because we are scientists generating new knowledge, we are going to have these scientific publications. But at the same time, as I started my presentation talking about, we need these technologies to arrive to the market. And for that, we need adequate protection of intellectual property. So when any new knowledge arises from our project, we need to make sure that we protect that adequately in order to be able to commercialize later on. And then 2 points, it's the involvement of key potential actors, so early career researchers and SMEs, and then female researchers in the gender balance of our work packages. So why the European Innovation Council calls you key actors? So if that's a story, or the path that the EIC is proposing, it takes time, right? So from an idea that starts in the lab, to that validated in a relevant environment, to that arrive to the market, that can be like the more optimistic, maybe like 6-7 years. So maybe you in your positions are the ones that are going to take the lead on that. And you're going to transfer and to start moving from more an academia institutions to a more business or SMEs. So it's credible, and it can be exciting for you to be enrolled in this whole path. So the next step for that is the EIC transition, and I'm going to mention that because in your labs, there might be some of the projects that are eligible to continue, or some ideas or some innovation that have already been developed in the labs that you are now, might be the seed for then this path to arriving to the market. So the EIC transition, as I said, we are expecting to develop both maturation and validation of technology to be developed or proved in a relevant environment, and also exploration and development or the sustainable business plans and business models. So we need to have this combination. Similar to what I presented yesterday, a few slides ago. So the key points here, or the gatekeepers, is the technology, the market, and the team. That's quite important for that. So we need to have this technology that has already been validated in your labs, but now we need to validate that in the relevant environment. Does it work? When we are in the real conditions, then we need to move from the early stage business model to start developing this viable business model that can have this significant market. So there needs to be a need in the market for that. And compare with the different competitors that we have, both commercial and non-commercial, our solution needs to have a spot in the market. And then the team, it's really important to have this motivated team that is going to, with this combination of skills that takes this technology to the market. So the idea of this call, or it's quite new, is for those technologies that have been developed in and finance in Horizon Europe, to get funding and to not let these kind of bold ideas, as Leticia was saying, or these proof of concept technologies in a draw, but take them to the next level. So you need to have one of these projects or technology coming from one of these projects available. Marie Curie is not eligible for that, but you might have some others in your lab that allows you to access to the transition. And then just, I think, my last slides. So similar to what Leticia said, why MSCA fellows are key actors for the EIC. As I mentioned, key actors have the potential to become the future leaders in a field. So if you would like to embrace that and you feel comfortable with this sort of moving from more academia side to the most business side, that's perfect for you. You also have these international collaborations. You have these, either the skills, some of you have been enrolled in some entrepreneur courses. Some of you also have contacts with R&D companies, and the profiles that you have as MSc, PhD, or postdoc are perfect for this, or are the seed for these Pathfinder projects. So comparing to the ERC, I know that Leticia told you that you don't need to have like so many publications and whatever, but we all know it's not like that. So for the EIC, those profiles that have maybe not that many publications because they have been moving from one field to another, and they have this interdisciplinary profile. These are the researchers that normally are able to get this kind of funding. And then I wanted to mention this initiative, which is within the European Innovation Council that you can already benefit from. This is the InnoNext, and the idea is designed to foster collaboration between Europe's top academic talents and innovation startup and SMEs. You have the QR code here for the web page. So the idea, you can have like a 3 to 6 month internship. There's 2 strings, more research-focused experience in advanced projects facing complex technical challenges, or more entrepreneurship-focused internship. So many kind of talents, but you see that fellows from MSCA are allowed to apply to these kind of internships, and you can be hosted in different kind of companies. So startups and SMEs supported by the EIC Accelerator, EIC Awarded Seat of Excellence, SMEs or startups supported by EIC Transition, EIT, or MSCA companies. So it is quite new, this program. I think this is going to be the second wave of internships. But so here you have, there is later on this month a seminar for that, but it's quite easy, the process. So you just register with your profile, you explore the opportunities that you have, you can meet the companies, and then start collaborating with them. And that's another way of having a feel of, if you are not sure about if you would like to be enrolled in these sort of positions or move to academia. If you're still unsure, so that's a good opportunity for you to see exactly what is being involved with one of these more SME entrepreneurship or innovation setting. So that was all for my side. Not sure if there is any question. If not, I'm going to be also in the coffee, so we can have a chat or discuss your ideas if you'd like to.
Oh, yeah. No. Questions? EIC? Everything is clear then? Perfect. So next speaker, Joaquín Capablo from the Marie Curie Alumni Association.
Is the presentation ready? No, no sé si la Maite la ha puesto. Sí. Ah, esta será. Esta, sí. So, good morning. Thank you, everybody, for coming today. So, it's a pleasure to see this room with so many people here. So, I'm Joaquín Capablo. I'm the Vice Chair of the Marie Curie Alumni Association. I hope that you are aware that we exist, but if not, we will explain now the details about what we are and what we don't. So we are an association founded in 2012, and we have now more than 24,000 members. And we are based in Belgium, but we have members from all nationalities and based in all over the world. And membership is free and is open to former and present fellows. So the alumni word sometimes is leading to a misunderstanding, because you don't need to wait until your fellow has finished, but you can be a member just now, and in fact, it's more convenient because you can benefit from your budget for attending events and for attending trainings that we are very aligned with this. And yeah, you can be in a member. We'll see later how to become a member. And main funding and support is coming from the European Commission, and there is an association for lifetime opportunities. So the life of the researchers are evolving. So there are a lot of career paths, not only continuing in academia, but also in industry, as research managers, as policymakers. So we are covering all the support to our members all along their working path. So we have mainly three pillars. So our main objectives are networking. So this is a clear example of joining our members together and only knowing that who is where and doing what. So this is a very good benefit, because now the science is more and more multidisciplinary, and the projects, even the previous explained opportunities, are more and more focused, or you need a consortium of members from different disciplines, so mathematics, economics, social science, physics, artificial intelligence. So it is a good networking opportunity for you in terms also of career development. The second pillar is career development. We offer a lot of opportunities in terms of mainly transversal skills. So we all need communication, know about open science, ethics in research, research integrity, intellectual property, entrepreneurship. So these are topics that we all need, and we offer many opportunities for that, online and even face-to-face events. And the third pillar is about science policy, so trying to have an impact on society and to have an impact on the policymakers and the decision takers. So we defend the rights of the researchers. So we, for example, were publishing a handbook for supervision in the Marie Curie. So you could be aware of this, for supervision guidelines and how to be a good supervisor. So this is in our values. Which are our services? So we, as explained before, we do a lot of events in online and also face-to-face, or on-site in different countries. We offer support and training. We have, for example, Coursera licenses available, where there you have thousands of trainings from 1 hour till months, and even in your own languages. So it's also a good opportunity for you. Then we have also the narrative CV, so the PEP CV project that More and more, the trend is to not to have a CV with only the information of your papers, but to give you the opportunity to explain the impact and which is your real contribution to science and to society. We offer micro grants to attend events, to attend trainings. One of our biggest events is the annual conference we do yearly. This year is going to happen in Brussels in April, so in 22 to 25 of April. So you could attend this, so it's a good opportunity for you to do networking, and we have plenty of sessions about career development, about science policy, project management, about sustainability, artificial intelligence, so topics that we consider of interest for you. And even we have some awards to recognize the efforts and the achievement of our members. So here we have some data about our members. So we have all the nationalities in our association, but some of them are like half of them, so Italy, Spain, and Germany are covering many of our members. And in terms of disciplines, we have engineering and lab science as also the half of the members, but we have also all the others, so economics, mathematics, environmental, social sciences. And in terms of age, so we have like half of our members between 36 and 50. So we have the website of the key information place. So we have renewed just in November. So you have there all the information about the events, about the trainings, about what we do, our members, and you can be informed there about what is happening in our association. So this is the view of the update of the web, and you have here how to become a member. So it's in the main web at the top right, and here is the QR, just in case you would like to have the link available, and if you are not a member, so you could be. You could have the link just ready. I give like some time for you to take it. Here you only need some personal information, so name and data about the normal administrative data, and also the project you are involved in, so the Marie Curie project you are working for or you have participated in. Okay, I guess even we will circulate the presentation, so you will have even this QR code afterwards. And we are organized regionally, so we are global, but we want to have also local impact. And we have chapters covering different regions. And we have France chapter, Italy chapter, UK, Ireland, USA, Canada, Mexico. We have Caribbean chapter with some other involving different countries in the region. We have Western Balkans chapter too, so Southeast Asia. So some chapters are related with a country, but some of them are more regional ones. And in the case of Spain and Portugal, we are together. And this is the site, the website of the chapter. You can easily find in the web. And once you are a member, you can join the chapter. And it is good. So easily join chapter, and the chair of the chapter will accept you. And we have also, we are present in social media, so in LinkedIn, in X, and in some chapters also Instagram. But yeah, we have a global bunch of social media and also dedicated chapter by chapter. So this is local based, so if you are based in Spain, most of you, maybe you could be interested in joining the chapter, this Spain-Portugal chapter, and be aware of what is happening. And we have also working groups that are more focused on topics of interest of the association. So we have here 9 different, so we have one about artificial intelligence, that it is the one we will have later a presentation of Ingrid Campo. We have about bridging science and business together, so industry-academia relationship, then career development, communication, gender equity, diversity and inclusion, policy, research funding, risk management and sustainability. So these are covering the topics you could be interested in, and you could collaborate. So this is even a bottom-up association. So if you have ideas and you want to develop anything you have in mind, then you can join easily a working group and propose what you have in mind. And even it is quite easy to join once you are a member. So you have this join working group, and then you will have access to all the information, all the periodic news that they are publishing. And here also you have, as mentioned before, so our channels in social media. So if you want to follow too, in LinkedIn, in X, and in YouTube. So I will be around in the coffee break. So if you have any question, even you can ask me now. Thank you.
So I think we have a bit of time, because now comes the technical challenging part, connecting to the streaming with Zoom. I'm sure it's going to work very well, but we're going to provide a few minutes. Any questions about the Marie Curie Alumni Association? What's the matter? Everybody's asleep today. Then oh yeah, please.
Thank you for the presentation. You mentioned the career development programs. Can you explain a bit more about this part?
Yeah, so here in this training we have some activities focused on the training of our members. So we have Coursera licenses available. So it's a platform when you can have asynchronous trainings. So it is like you take a course on leadership, and you can take when you are free, so when you are available. Or they offer also like some kind of masters or postgrades that are taking like 12 months maybe on project management, for example, or on artificial intelligence. So they are covering many topics of interest for our members and to grow personally and professionally. We have also the academy, so Marie Curie Alumni Association Academy, and this is related with mentoring. So we have in Euraccess Rebecca and some programs covering mentoring, and we are implementing a mentoring program among our members, matching together early stage researchers, so doctoral candidates mainly, with researchers not only in postdoctoral stage, but in different career paths. So, for example, the first program we implemented, it was more related with paths that were not in academia, but more other other sectors or other jobs like project managers or science communicators or policy advisors. So we are detecting that sometimes as researchers we are concentrating in following in academia and we don't realize what opportunities are outside. And maybe they are fitting very well with us because maybe you are a good scientist, but maybe you are a better science communicator or a better policy advisor. So only knowing that this is available and having the experience of people working on this field or in these careers can support you in taking a decision or your future steps in your career. Then we have this PEP-CV program that it is related with this narrative CV. This is implemented for example, in Spain in the R3 certificate. It is not only showing your main merits, your 10 best projects, papers, but explain there which was your contribution, why it's important, and this is, I think, a positive evolution. As sometimes with a paper, you cannot explain what was happening in the project, what was really the contribution of the project to maybe the laboratory or to the society. So, and then you have the opportunity to explain that. So this is something that also we think that is important for our members, and we are covering this service. And then we are organizing trainings and webinars on different topics, covering all that we consider that it could be interesting for our members, so science communication. So they are aligned more or less with the working groups. For example, we organized in September in Valencia a summer school or a training about science communication, 2 days training. Then in Lisbon last year also we had a similar event to this, explaining the opportunities for career development from local to global, so from regional in Portugal and in Spain, so in Catalonia, in Madrid, in Aragon, in different regions, to national opportunities, to these opportunities as Marie Curie postdoctoral or the ERC or some others in other countries. So these kind of events we consider of interest for our members. Also about project management, there is also like a training school for that. So we try to cover all the topics of interest for our members.
So my question is, do you have any legal support for MSCA fellows who are currently beneficiaries or were before, for any legal, some legal support for asylum seekers or refugees?
We don't have legal support for candidates, but we could have like advice support. So you could write us with any doubts or any issues you could have, and we could try to help, or at least address you who could be the one who could support you the best. So maybe we cannot have the answer, but we could know who is the right people you can address the question.
And follow-up question, do you have any experience, like cases before such situation?
About this, so I would say So we had in career development a whistleblowing channel, so that is there. That was a project to let the researchers explain their issues in an anonymous way and avoiding having some kind of actions against the one like enlightening something that was happening to them. So we had to explore this whistleblowing channel as a path for our members to raise issues so with the supervisor or with the institution or with anything or with the legal situation or so to explain to let them know, let us know some issues that it is not easy to raise in a personal way. So this was something that was created for this.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So, if it's okay, we have actually one of the Marie Curie alumni working groups, a member, waiting in Zoom to explain specifically, well, one of the working groups, so one on artificial intelligence. Ingrid, we see you on the screen, so the floor is yours.
Hello, nice to meet you. I'm so grateful and I would really like to thank the organizers for inviting me to this presentation with you today. I am speaking today on behalf of the Artificial Intelligence Working Group of the Marie Curie Alumni Association. And my aim in the next 10 minutes or so is to show you where AI is useful in research, because I am a researcher myself. I work in Sweden in 2 different institutions, at the Royal Institute of Technology, KTH, and at RISE Research Institutes of Sweden. And here are my contact details, and you're more than welcome to contact me if interested. So my my first proposal is that you join us. You join the Marie Curie Alumni Association, which Joaquin was talking about. It's really a fantastic opportunity, actually, for researchers. Myself, it took me some months since I received my Marie Curie until I joined, because first I thought I had to finish my project before I could join, but it's not. And it's a fantastic association where actually I think one of the interesting things for me is the big diversity of minds that you can meet there. So more than saying that it's people similar to you, you are going to find people from very, very different fields working on research, and that is fantastic. And then once you join the association, you can join the groups. And for joining the Artificial Intelligence Working Group, which I'm representing today, you just need to send an email. It's just as easy as that. You don't need to be an expert on AI, and you just need to have interest. So the first step, remember, join the association general, and then just join us. This is what our website looks like. We are interested in help researchers making understand and use AI responsibly and effectively. And we want this AI to be accessible. So as I said before, you don't need to be an AI specialist to join our group. We do many different activities, from, for example, assessing policy documents, but also training programs. And in fact, I am personally in charge of a new training program that we are launching on artificial intelligence. It's going to be in just a couple of weeks. So stay tuned and you can join. Of course, you are super welcome to join. Happy to have you there. So just as a general presentation on AI, in case I assume some people are already working on it and are very knowledgeable, but some others might not. So I just give a very short explanation of what is AI. We would say that artificial intelligence is the umbrella term for many very different things inside, and it includes methods that allow computers to perform tasks that look intelligent. But then, in reality, nowadays, what we are talking about when we talk about AI, I would say is mostly machine learning. And machine learning is that instead of like writing every single rule explicitly, we train models on data. But inside machine learning, we also have other groups. So I would say there's different ways we can classify it, but today I will give you this one, which I think is most accessible for researchers. We have the linear models that are used a lot actually when you have a lot of data, like think about of big Excels, and you want to make predictions or so, and these models are very good for that. And then we have tree-based models, random forest, and then we have neural networks. And inside the neural networks, we have large language models. So I would like to make this different evident that many people think that ChatGPT is artificial intelligence. Okay, it's artificial intelligence, but not everything is ChatGPT. Not all AI is ChatGPT. There's many other possibilities, and of course there's a very big hype now with large language models, but there's many more aspects of AI behind that. So I think it's very useful to distinguish between these different broad uses of AI, and also in terms of research, as I will explain next. And this is a little reference about Leonardo Torres Quevedo. He was an engineer from Spain, and he presented this model. It was called El Ajedrecista, which means the chess player, in the main fair of Paris in 1941. And you could say that these kind of models, automats, were some of the prehistory of artificial intelligence. So my point with this is that artificial intelligence is a very big collective effort of many different researchers across history, and now it has become much more known because of the large language models, but there's a very long history, mostly throughout the last 60 years, making progress in artificial intelligence. So of course, this, for example, didn't have computing, but it's like, we would say, premature model of automation, how to try to automate something that does an intelligent task. So as I was telling you before, in terms of research, I would talk today about two main ways that you can use AI, but machine learning, but still you have other alternatives, of course. So you have predictive AI, which is very helpful when you have data, and the more data you have, usually is much better. And then they are very, very practical models for doing predictions. And then you have foundation models, or generative AI, which is the like ChatGPT and Claude and Copilot, these systems, that these are better at drafting, creating new ideas, not creating new ideas, but as I will show you in this differentiation. So machine learning on the left, when we talk about predictive AI, is best when you have a defined problem with a fixed data set and a validation strategy. And the typical task involve doing regressions. It's very similar, and the line blurs a lot between probability, statistics, and machine learning. And then these models, you can actually check them, the accuracy, and try to fix if the accuracy is not good enough or not. You're not satisfied. You can readapt different parameters, and you can even like try to go inside them. So it's very good to doing forecasting or finding out patterns in data. And then you have the models, the generative models, which I put on the right. And these are so much better when you are working with language, because large language models, they are trained on that, or images or other material we call unstructured. So the typical task is, for example, search support or make summaries, drafting, coding assistance, and you get text, code, images, explanations. But these models, even they are so powerful. I would say the backside is that you cannot really go in the insides, or in the how it works inside the what we call the weights of how some decisions are taken. It's something internal to the model, and we cannot control that. So where does AI genuinely help us researchers? And I really encourage you to use it if you are still not using it. I could say to refine questions or find adjacent papers. I will show you a couple of tools thereafter, or map citation. For example, in large language models, you can ask what's the missing weaknesses of your research. Also to analyze, to help get help with coding or clean data. Even there's a very nice apps to transcribe interviews, and that's very helpful for researchers in the humanities that involve a lot of ethnographical research and collecting data. So AI has come in with very powerful tools for them. And then to communicate your research, most of you might have already done that now, to use models to help you clarify your message. And this, I say, it's very important, really, for us researchers to communicate what you do, not just research, but if you don't explain to the world what you have done, and it's just hidden in a little corner, I guess it's useless, because no one is going to be able to use your research. So yeah, and then I will show you next some examples that I think have been useful for me of AI tools in research, in terms of finding literature and finding also helping illustrate your research. So the first will go into is the literature discovery. I will show you two examples. It's two different apps. One is called Connected Papers and Elicit here. So this is Connected Papers. And for example, here, if you see my screen on the top in the search bar, I wrote artificial intelligence in science, and it will give you a paper, which is here in the network diagram. You can see it's surrounded with a purple circle, but then it will produce a very useful network of papers that are related to that paper, either because they are cited by this paper or the other papers cite this paper. So it's very useful to get an image of how relevant is a paper in an area, and also try to see the other, like the impact of this particular article across other papers, because if you can see like the larger the circle in the network, it's because it has more citations, so you can, I think it facilitates a lot the life seeing like other relevant papers related to this issue that you maybe did not have on mind, and this is very helpful for me at least. And then this other tool is called Elicit, and it's kind of the same, but it does like a little, instead of doing the network diagram, it produces these reports. And here it gives like a primary contribution. It's like a mini abstract, and it's also very helpful to see, to do literature reviews. And then some of these tools may or may not be free, but maybe your institution has access, so you can probably ask that. And then this one is called Illustri. You can see the name up top, illustri.co. And it's text to image, so you prompt what kind of diagram you need, and it will give you different options. You can choose the styles, and you need to pay for this, but the price I think is not super, not very high. And it can do very helpful images, especially I think for people in the field of life sciences, that you usually need an image abstract at the beginning of your papers, or just to illustrate your idea. So I thought this was quite helpful. And you can also choose between the image styles, like more classical or more whatever you prefer. So, well, of course, I'm not getting paid by any of these companies. This is just some tools that I thought they were useful for me, and I was happy to share them with you as a help. But then I would like to say that you can adopt AI as a research amplifier, but please be very careful. For example, do not use just citations directly from what you get in your prompts, or do not upload any confidential material. Like, for example, if you are preparing research grants, it's not, I think, it's totally private space. But also to take into consideration to whenever you use large language models or any machine learning tool, to document very well the prompts you use or the steps you took, so you can defend the process thereafter. One of the biggest issues now with machine learning is that many tools are not explainable. So there is people trying to do explainable AI. And this is a big dilemma for researchers, because the research method as we know it from the 20th century until today is that you can show your method so someone else can reproduce it. And now we have this dilemma that you cannot reproduce many of the methods. And this is a problem because there is no way you can validate it. So we must be very careful as researchers to build our research on data that is serious and validated. And then just as a short commentary regarding citations, well, I personally also work as a reviewer for articles and even research projects. And I would like to really highlight that you are very careful about this, because the image you give to the reviewer if your proposal has invented reference by ChatGPT is terrible. Like, even if your proposal looks wonderful, and then I've met some of these, and it's horrible. Like, all of your work can be destroyed, let's say destroyed in a few seconds, like the image of a project, because I've gone through projects and then realized that some of the references did not exist. They were just copy paste from ChatGPT, which has many, or ChatGPT, or I say any other large language model. Sometimes they hallucinate, as you may well know, and the references were not existent. And this totally changed the way you see at the proposal afterwards. So just be very careful. Like, AI can be very, very good for your research to amplify, but always keep a very critical eye on how you use it. Always be there, always check, always be careful, read everything that you get back, because the models are not perfect, and they are improving them a lot, but they are not perfect today, and it can damage very much your research. So yeah, so thank you very much for your attention today. I thought you got some helpful tips. Of course, please join the Marie Curie Alumni Association, and afterwards join us as a team, artificial intelligence team. I am, as I told you, preparing a AI training program for researchers, so I will be super happy to have you on board, and you can also connect with me personally. Here's my data. The QR is for my LinkedIn profile. Well, you don't see it anymore. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, and good luck with your projects.
So thank you very much, Ingrid. You can hear us, right?
Yes.
There's
yes.
a question in the room here.
Thank you very much for a very good presentation. All those those new AI tools that you presented, I didn't know, so it was very useful. But I have a question. I use some of these models to create code, for example, for a program that I'm running, and I'm going to be using the data that is generated by the code in a paper. So this is like just one example of, now I don't know how can I cite this, for example, anything we generate with ChatGPT or any other language models, either like a paper, figure or code or something that we're going to be using it, how can we cite it properly? And is it proper to use this kind of code for generating data for our research papers?
Thank you. I think it's totally perfect to use it because it's just now it's so helpful. It could be so helpful, but the key point is to be transparent about it. To, when you have used it, to explain in your publication or whatever you are preparing what has been your prompt, or how many times you have prompted, what was your method for prompting. Yeah, that's why, as I told you before, to keep track of what are your steps in the research project. Of course, I think it's something we should not ignore as researchers. AI is there, and in fact, myself, I also do this research on AI and the AI tools. But yeah, the key is to keep track of everything, be transparent, so that you can share with other researchers what were all your steps or your method. Yeah.
Any other question? Okay, so thank you very much, Ingrid, for joining us online.
Thank you. Bye.
So, okay. This is the end of the first part of the session today. We are stealing minutes from your coffee break. We are aware of that, and we are still going to steal a few more minutes. First, some logistics. Important people you should keep in mind. Maite over there. Okay? I will be joining Maite after the coffee break to take away the people in the physics panel and the society panel. So when we start calling you out, please pay attention to us and we'll walk with you to the rooms. Other important people, Alba back there, you see her? And my NCP colleagues, Julio and Laura. You will be going, these are for the chemistry and engineering panels, and you will be going to the rooms downstairs that we used yesterday during the workshops, in the breakout sessions, okay? And last but not least, Jesus, who will stay here with the life science panel, which has the most members. With that being said, one more thing that we would like to ask you, and we can do it very quickly, and then you can start your coffee. We walk out the door and we take a group picture. One shot, and we get our coffee. Thank you.